Hello and welcome to Tutorial 1 Takeaways. Here is where we left you at the end of Tutorial 1. The diamonds data are still there and the raw numbers are red because a filter is in operation. The first takeaway is the use of the right-click menu for common operations. You use the right-click menu to add the filter and you can use it again to undo the filter. So, right-click again. This menu is full of often used column operations such as rename column and duplicate column. Click on Remove Current Filter to undo the filter. Perhaps that made you wonder if the data view has more right-click menus. There are two. At the left, there is a right-click in the row numbers. Here, just like the spreadsheet software, this menu provides shortcuts to operations on rows, rather than columns. The option to filter is in both menus as it is so useful. And what about the right-click on a data frame name at the bottom? That exists too. Just as on a spreadsheet, this makes it easy to do useful things on the whole data frame. For example, clicking the View Data Frame option opens the R viewer. This allows you to see the whole data. In this viewer, one can scroll through datasets even bigger than this Diamond's 50,000 rows easily without using arrows or pages. Stella, we haven't met before. You went through Tutorial 1 and I'm wondering why.
I lecture in statistics and data science. Our students currently use statistics software, such as SPSS, and we're planning to introduce R. My first surprise is that you use such a big dataset so early on.
But why is that a surprise?
Currently, we don't use many large datasets in our teaching. Most of our datasets are designed to illustrate specific statistical points. But our students have been asking for larger, more realistic examples.
We started with the Diamonds data, so with 53,000 rows.
Yes, I'm impressed at the way you just jump into it. I think some graduates can probably do a whole statistics degree without meeting data of this size. And now that I think about it, this is really serious for a couple of reasons. Firstly, descriptive statistics is not that interesting if the teaching is limited to small data sets, though it's an essential part of good stats. Secondly, small, specially designed data sets don't need tidying, so the whole area of data tidying or wrangling is often left out.
A second takeaway is the use of the toolbar option. We used the toolbar to return to the last dialog. The toolbar provides another way to make some common tasks easy. Now, use the down arrow and return to the Import from Library dialog. Like the other dialogs, it is as you left it, and opens to the ggplot datasets.
And it's nice that the diamonds data is even the first of the ggplot examples.
Of course, they are alphabetical, so it is good these are diamonds rather than pearls or sapphires. Scroll down and click on the M-slip dataset, then click OK. This opens a second data frame on the slip and other properties of 83 different mammals. Now, back to the toolbar, click on the output window icon to hide the output window. We now see the data more clearly. We can widen some columns if needed. Scrolling down to row 34 gives the slip and other properties of humans. We see that we typically need much more slip than a giraffe and much less than a little brown bat. We do seem to have comparatively large brains, with only elephants in the list being larger.
I know you're trying to illustrate the toolbar here, but I like the way you're using the spreadsheet view of the data. You're showing some fun points.
Yes, we need students to become data detectives. You don't do this?
As I said, our data sets are usually simpler, but we are planning to change this a bit.
We can click on the output window icon again for it to return, and an alternative is the curly arrow, which is a bit like the reset button on a dialog. It sets the windows back to their original defaults. Our next takeaway is on the dialogs. Use the down arrow again to return to the one variable summarized dialog. It is almost as we left it, except the data frame has gone red. That's because we now have two data frames. We are looking at the mSlip data frame, but this dialog has remembered our previous use of the diamonds data. That is a good warning that you might be working on the wrong data frame. Let's change it. You can do this either by changing the data frame or using the reset button. We would like to analyze the mSlip data, so press the reset button. This clears the dialog and assumes you would like to use the data that is visible. Some dialogs have radio buttons at the top. Here, we try the middle button called Skim. As before, choose all the variables and press OK. This time, use the data view icon on the toolbar to hide the data frame and expand the output window, giving you a better view of the summary. This provides a different layout for the summaries. It separates the variables by their type and provides more information about character or text variables.
I like this. SPSS uses value labels while R has factors for categorical data. So I'm reminded that R is going to imply more changes in our teaching.
Return to the summarized dialog as before. Almost all the dialogs have this same data selector. It shows all the variables available for analysis. Clicking on the Add button moves the selected items into the receiver. The receiver is on the right of the dialog. This is for the variables you choose to analyze. Some dialogs, as here, have multiple receivers. Other dialogs have receivers for just single variables. At the bottom of each dialog, there are the same 6 controls. The first is for the comments. This provides an opportunity for you to say why you are doing this analysis. Here, we type illustration of different ways of using the summarized dialog. This comment is then shown in the output window as part of your report. The 5 buttons right at the bottom are also on every dialog. We used reset earlier. The middle option is close and is the same as the close at the top. It never does any harm, so press close now. Perhaps we need to look at some of the data before continuing. Now we return to the dialog and it is as we left it, so you can continue. If we right-click in the multiple receiver and clear the variables, then the OK button at the bottom is disabled. You need to specify some variables before you can summarize them. Once you add the variables, OK is enabled, and this is what we usually use. The right-hand button is also enabled at the same time. Some users will never need this button. It is not scary though, so we give it a try. It opens a new window and shows the R commands that are run behind the scenes when you press OK. If you press the Run All button here, that's the same as pressing OK in the dialog in the first place. If you open this window accidentally, then remember that the curly arrow on the toolbar gets rid of it immediately. We do that.
Could you return to the dialog?
Of course.
I was so pleased that you have a to script button. That's the same as SPSS and other statistics packages. With SPSS, we're currently only using the menus, but our statistics students should use commands as well. We'll now need to decide whether that's with R or SPSS or both.
So, on the R-Instat side, once you have used just a few dialogues, you can just about use them all. And was there anything else you noticed?
I was pleased with how many statistical ideas were in this tutorial, as well as introducing R-Instat. That's what we do now with the statistics software, but I had assumed that moving our service course students, or even postgraduates, to R would be more time-consuming, and that's been worrying me.
Exactly. Our main purpose in this tutorial is for users to start learning how to use R easily. But we are able to combine this with some statistical ideas. So, we can be productive in teaching and learning statistics at the same time as we use R.
You claimed earlier that the Diamonds data was well prepared, and therefore you omitted the Prepare menu and started immediately with the Describe menu for analysis. I agree, that's often a mistake.
The correlation analysis here indicated some oddities in the data. We therefore went back a step to the Describe one variable frequency dialog to examine the outliers in more detail. Most of the dialogues in that menu do double duty in R-Instat and are also available in the Prepare Check Data menu.
I really like that most of these dialogues do double duty in the Prepare menu. We don't currently teach much of the Prepare menu materials, the data tidying or wrangling, but I think we should. Just because the researcher claims that the data has been quality controlled, or that they've been used by others, is not a sufficient reason to omit your own data checking.
Thank you. Nice meeting you, Stella. In tutorial 2, we show it is simple to import data from Excel and it is equally easy to write data back. And part of our case for R is we emphasize adding and not substituting a statistics package. A useful part of this case is the powerful multiple graphs shown here in tutorial 1 and then here in tutorial 2. Watch out for tutorial 2.